Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host, Evan T. With me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So this past weekend, The Batman came out, and today we're going to be reviewing it. So, leading up to this movie, we've gone on record saying that these trailers weren't doing it for us. We weren't sure how to feel about, the bat suit, just the aesthetic of the trailer just didn't feel, I don't know, just nothing about the trailer like grabbed. We never had doubts that it would be at least enjoyable. We never like thought we would hate it or anything, but we definitely had our concerns about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be lying if I said I didn't think this movie was very good. I would also be lying if I said I didn't think this movie was good. This movie is good. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was weird because again, I go back to if there was ever a movie that because so many times now you see, man, that was a great trailer, and then wow, I like how the best part of the movie was in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the trailer was the C plot. Man, I didn't even care. Bro, oh my god. No, this if there was ever an underwhelming trailer, it was these movies. Because it's because again, they weren't bad, but none of these trailers made me feel oh man, Batman's coming out. They were kind of oh, they're making a new Batman movie. A casual. It wasn't even that exciting. Man, 2 minutes into this movie, I'm getting goosebumps. Oh dude.
Oh my goodness. The intro of this movie is literally maybe one of the best comic book movie scenes of all time. It's amazing.
Yes. There's so much in this movie that I've thought about, and on record been if I ever made a Batman story or show or movie, I'm I would want this, I would want that. There was 5, 6 things I was dude, that's awesome. Dude, that's I was I said that. That's a great idea.
Oh, we'll get to the scene. I literally said verbatim at the end of this movie, verbatim, when I was making my Batman movie verbatim happened at the end of this movie. We'll get there.
But that's what I'm saying. Pull the tapes, man. Bro, this is what we've been talking about for years. This is and it's weird because it's kind of out of nowhere. This awesome, but just great Batman, just kind of out of nowhere. Again, it was kind of they're doing Batman again. All right, I guess. And it was just bro, you were not ready for that.
They've never done Batman like this before. It's
no.
Other Batman movies in the past have kind of gone the angle of him being a symbol of justice or whatever for the city. But this, again, the opening of this movie was so genius because it's Batman monologuing, which is again just out of Batman Year One, Long Halloween, that's ideal for early Batman stuff. Monologuing over this about how he is the shadows. When criminals see the light in the sky, they fear. All they feel is fear. And you're seeing that guy with that weird
pumpkin thing mask, whatever that is. I don't even know.
Yeah. You see him turn around and you see a dark shadowy alley, and you the audience think Batman's walking out of the alley or something's happening, or he'll show
right.
And the guy didn't even want to find out, he just ran. It happened again. You the audience is ready for it. And then when he actually does come out, just you hear his footsteps, just so cool.
Yeah, and again, how and just how again, how they built it up, oh, is that Batman? Is that and they all just have this terrified look. They all just look at the sky and everybody gets quiet and it's nah. They dip, they run, they're just going. Not even doing nothing. Batman's
Yeah.
probably on the other side of the city. You know what I mean? But it's like
Mhm.
the idea, the possibility that this
Yeah.
thing could just be right there waiting to break your arm. And then
And the
when
fact,
he does show up, bro.
yeah. And I loved how like he even acknowledged he's only been doing this for 2 years, but just yeah, the idea of him is already so powerful that Kern will just see the symbol and know to stop being bad and just like that's so good. That's something that's somehow never really been done in a movie, but is so quintessentially Batman. And I just I
Yeah.
love it.
And I like how they use the symbol. It's not just like a, hey, Batman, come see what's up with GCPD. It's like a, so they'll know. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, and I really like that because it's like, this isn't about us. This is about them knowing that, like, he's out there.
he's around.
And, bro,
He's
it's, yeah,
probably
like,
right behind me.
yeah. And I just think that was great, especially when he just comes out there, all those guys. And, for a second, they're like, oh, snap, man. But then it's like, nah, there's a whole bunch of us. And Batman just takes the main dude and just, bro, like, I don't even think like, even I remember when we saw it in the trailer when he just clobbers this dude. It's like, all right. And then he just keeps being, we're like, okay. And then he just keeps being, you're like, all right, bro, he's done. Like,
You only need to punch that guy like twice, but no,
that's what I'm
he
saying.
wanted to make an example of this guy.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what. But again, it's the fear because it's like it's the fear because it's not just Batman. It's the legend. It's the
Mhm.
because again, I mean, even the one guy who was like the recruit or whatever, only half his face painted. I mean, he
Mhm.
got unscathed. He just let him go. But it's
Yeah.
the fear. It's the story. It's the
Yes.
man. Let me tell you, you don't want to be a criminal in this city because we
Mhm.
saw the baddest dude in our gang got flat, and everyone
and then
watched because they weren't trying to be second; they were trying to be next.
and then 12 guys tried to beat up Batman, and then all of them got beat up, and then
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, like I wouldn't want to.
No, they got flat. Like, I mean, it wasn't like a oh man, Batman got like Batman. Like he cleaned up, and again, but I did like that, and not just in this scene, but in a lot of this movie, Batman was not like untouchable. And I think that's very good, especially for early
Mm,
Batman, because it's like, yes, he's the best, but he's not perfect yet.
yes, I I literally only have like 3 nitpicks with this movie, and they're like they kind of don't matter, but like
Yeah.
um the like one of the very few things I have kind of an issue with is, and this is really an issue like with modern Batman just as a character. I don't love when when Batman himself is just bulletproof. Like I get he has high tech, like basically an armory in his basement. I get that, but
Mm-hmm.
like, I like it more when like he has to throw his cape around or the symbol itself is bulletproof or like everything else is vulnerable. But when he's just like getting wailed on by bullets, he takes a shotgun to the chest and is like,
Yeah.
and he lives. Like I don't know
And like,
that.
not just Elizabeth, it's kind of like, I mean, like, isn't fine, but like, doesn't seem to be that hurt by it. Just kind of feels
Mhm.
like he got knocked over. But it's kind of like, bro, you should have a hole in you. Like,
but but in a way that kind of makes the fact that like he's not the best fighter yet. I think that kind of works because yes, he is only 2 years in. He has trained, for the better part of 10 plus years, but like he's not perfect yet. So he kind of has maybe he has to have this extra armor to compensate, and I think that's fine. I just kind of wish I just kind of wish he like intentionally dodged a little more than he did, as opposed to just like
yeah,
taking it.
I will. Yeah, I didn't notice because again, it's like he was more like a brawler than like a ninja, which I think was on purpose, just trying to make him
Mhm.
different than like other Batman. But it's like, yeah, he seemed very much just kind of just eat like take punishment, but also give out more of a tank than
Mm,
a machine. But
yeah, yeah,
still
that which
cool.
is fine. But yeah, like every single major fight scene in this entire movie puts. I'm sorry, like I've never really loved the way Christopher Nolan like choreographed most of the Batman action scenes in those movies. Like movies themselves, bar and the third one, are good, but I feel like the Batman actually like doing things is always like kind of the weaker parts of of the Dark Knight, ironically. Um, so I feel like the action scenes in this movie put the action scenes of the Dark Knight to shame, because like just how much control Batman has in every scene, how much like I said, like he's not just like, you know, completely demolishing everybody like it's you know, they're like a video game, but like he is, you know, using techniques. He is like, you know, taking on 12 guys at once, no problem. Not to mention, I feel like, if we're going to get into this more later, I feel it's just shot so much better than it is, especially Batman Begins. I could barely tell what's going on for half those action scenes. You know, you can just feel every punch. You can see every, just it's so good.
Yeah, and like just like yeah, how it's shot. Yeah, because again, a lot of the fight scenes too, like you know how they say like, you feel it like in the theater because they did a really
Mhm.
good job, not just with like visuals, but with like I feel like the sound effects felt very like because you know what I mean. It's like
Mhm.
punches against Batman sounded different than punches against other. You know what I mean? Because he's got the
Mhm.
like leathery like armor and all this stuff. You know, and it's like you feel like you're. It's not. It doesn't feel like you're watching, but it feels like someone gave you a camera and you're just following Batman around, which
Mhm.
is really
Yes.
cool.
Which, yeah, like the cinematography of this movie is beautiful. Like, just my favorite scene of this entire movie was the first time Batman entered the iceberg
Iceberg
lounge.
Lounge.
Yeah, and like, you know, those twins come in and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He just like punches them both, just casually struts in, you know, going down those stairs, guys jump him, he doesn't care, just like throws them. And then that one guy, like, and I don't remember if it was a tracking shot exactly, but like, but yeah, like you, the audience, just following Batman as he's just like tearing through this place, takes that guy's bat and just like clobbers those guys. It was so good. And this set to this like house club music, which is something that like
Yeah.
doesn't happen like that, but it fit well for the setting, and like just the lighting just looks so cool.
No. Especially, I think one of probably my favorite thing about this arguably is the soundtrack felt like Gotham, if that
Mm.
makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like the music choices for this movie were perfect. All the theme music, all the like background, like wherever you were, that's what the music was playing. Like you said, like the like, you know, like the club theme. It's not, you know, what I mean, it's different. It's more this, but it still kind of has that like gritty, dark city kind of thing in the background, like something like the eerie, something more is going
Hmm.
on here thing. And no matter if it was in the cave or just out on the street or anywhere. It was always the soundtrack was really cool. It
Yes.
just you felt like you were in Gotham.
Hmm. Yeah, Batman's theme was really good. Just
It's
was, you
yeah,
know,
it was
whenever he showed up, it was
basic but
just,
really solid. It worked.
yeah, it's not as bombastic as like the Hans Zimmer track from Dark Knight, but like, yeah, it was more subtle, but like you just felt his presence whenever that song played.
It kind
Um,
of worked too because it was kind of like almost kind of like you know how you know it's kind of like Jaws or like you know what I mean when the
mm,
like
mm,
force of nature of whatever movie is kind of getting closer or about to do something.
right.
It's just this like one note, boom, 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 or like dun 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 or whatever, and then or
Mm,
like Darth Vader or whatever it is. And here it works well because Batman's just this like again the good guy, but also like this terrifying presence and this
mhm,
fear, and like even when he's not there, you can like feel the theme when something Batman related happens, and like
mhm,
it was really powerful. You could feel it.
yep. And yeah, I was afraid going in that like I was afraid going in that walking out of this movie, my main takeaway would be that I still didn't feel Robert Pattinson either as Batman, or I wouldn't like the suit. He killed it. Like everything about him is perfect. Like literally perfect as Batman.
Was not expecting that at all.
No.
Like I was expecting to really loathe like his Bruce Wayne and Batman, but honestly, and this is kind of like a half compliment, half like nitpick, but it's like there really wasn't any Bruce Wayne in this movie, which was kind of cool because it was like,
Yeah.
in one sense, it's all Batman. It's just different costumes, but in the other sense, it's like he's not really utilizing the other half. But I feel like it's also part of it being early too. He just kind of is only one side right now, and I think that was cool because he, I mean, even when he's Bruce Wayne, I mean, he's all dark and I mean, not emo-ish kind of. So it kind of like, I mean, it's like, oh, if there anyone in this crowd was Batman, I wonder who it would be. But like at the same time, it kind of worked because it's just like he spent so. I mean, there was never a moment in this movie where he wasn't doing something as Batman one way or another. So it kind of works.
Yeah, and like you said, essentially because it is only his second year, he hasn't really found the balance between putting on really the persona of Bruce Wayne to not tip people off that Bruce Wayne is Batman. He hasn't really found that balance yet, which is fine. And I think as this movie series goes, we'll definitely see that duality a lot more. But as far as this movie goes, it worked very well. Just for the limited amount we saw Bruce, it was good. But the vast majority of the time when he was Batman, flawless. His voice, I thought I wouldn't love, but his voice was really good. Like proof that you don't need a voice modulator, just kind of make it lower and cooler. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, because again, it's like people aren't. I mean, especially in the moment. I mean, everyone sees Batman, it's like they're just freaking out as Batman. I mean, they're not like, who does that seem like? How about how tall is it? You know what I mean? Everyone's so focused on like, oh crap, it's Batman. They're not thinking. So as long as it's not like, hi, I'm Bruce Wayne, like, you know what I mean? Like, you'll be fine. Which I think was good because again, it kind of goes back to that you felt like you were in the scenes because you were even kind of like I didn't even think about his voice because I was like, has he been using a voice? Like, if you had asked me halfway through the movie, I wouldn't have been able to tell you if he was using a voice or not. So I kind of didn't think about it.
Like I also, because he's not Bruce for most of the movie, I also kind of forgot like that's not his main voice. But when he's spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen the movie yet, we're gonna spoil it. If you're this far in, worry about spoilers. when he's driving as fast as he can back home, he is in the Batmobile. But when he's on the phone with that one housemaid lady, I don't know what her. Yeah, why does Alfred have a butler? I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I'm not going. Yeah, side note, there were a lot of characters that I've never heard of, and like, what I mean? I don't know every Batman character, but like, I feel like if I've never heard of them, like they're either made up or new or something so obscure.
Yeah, I know there's like a family doctor sometimes, and like I'm sure Batman has other people that work around, but like.
Well, like I thought she would be like a Leslie Tompkins or something like that. Like that would have been like an obscure-ish, but like that'll work. But that wasn't it. Or like, or even like, like the police, like the police guys really like other than Gordon. I was expecting like a, Commissioner Loeb or like but it was kind of it felt like outside of just Gordon, it didn't feel like I knew any of these people. I was like,
which is I think that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm not against it, but it
most of them were throwaway characters who either died or were fired anyway, so it didn't matter.
Well, yeah, I know. It was a thought, I mean, they had them for the villains because they had the the Falcones, the Maroni, the Penguin, you know what I mean? But I mean, like as far as good guys, it was a little interesting. Good guys.
But yeah, so when he's talking to that lady, he stops using his Batman voice and goes back to his Bruce voice in the Bat costume in the Batmobile. Like I remember her name. Like is Alfred okay? It's like no, something bad happened. It's like that's like you're kind of like your brain can't like process he's talking in his Bruce voice, which is his real voice in the back suit. Like it just, I don't know.
Well, yeah, there's so much going on. You're not really thinking about it.
But yeah, like any doubts, any memes anyone made about the Twilight guys being Batman, like it was the right choice.
That's why I always say until the movie comes out, we don't know. Because again, on paper, yeah, that sounds stupid. Man, did you see Batman? Like, you know what I mean? I didn't see, I didn't see Twilight playing Batman. I saw Batman playing Batman. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it works. Like, if
And
they can make it work.
and something that this movie did so well is that, and this is like kind of the like flip side of this coin, is like my personal major criticism of The Dark Knight, which again, I like that movie a lot. It is a very good movie. I just feel a little this movie balances, being a grounded, gritty, real Batman movie while also being a faithful comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dark Knight, I feel like it kind of forgets of the comic book movie. Like the aesthetically, it's just a movie about a guy in Chicago. Like, like that could be any city. But this movie, Gotham, like has its own character. The fact that it's always raining, the fact that just like the people just look, just the way it's shot, things just look a little off. Like
It's hopeless.
The lighting, just everything.
It's like this it's like this not soon to be wasted wasteland kind of thing.
Yes.
Like it's not a wasteland, but it's about, what I mean? It's about a tumbleweed away from being Mad Max or something. You know what I mean? Like it's on the cusp of something going horrible.
And kind of like going on that, something that I feel Christopher Nolan's movies kind of forgot is that like Batman is a man who dresses up in a bat costume to fight crime. That is inherently a very silly, goofy concept. You can play it straight, you can play it, serious and whatnot, but I feel like leaning into that even just a little bit, it like shows that you perfectly understand like what this character is to its entirety. And yes, Matt Reeves did make Batman look and feel very cool, but there were certain times when I felt like they leaned into the fact that like this is a comic book character from the late 30s, early 40s who dresses up as a bat to fight crime. He's not supposed to look cool doing everything. Like one of my favorite scenes is when he was temporarily detained by the police, and like in order to get out, he had to punch Gordon and then book it. Like he looked so goofy running away. They're getting into that wingsuit and flying and like crashing. Like that was so funny.
He ate it so hard. Like I was not expecting. And I like that because again, this is early Batman. This is Batman also, you know what I mean, on the run in an unconventional situation and kind of just, for lack of a better term, winging it. So like he just kind of was going, and for a while it's like, man, Batman does awesome, man. But it's also like, again, he's not perfect and he makes a mistake. He like gets clipped and almost eats it as hard as anything I've ever seen, which was hilarious. But yeah, it works because again, you feel like you're right there with him, and then when he gets, he's like, and it's like, almost expect him to lose a tooth there.
Now I want to move on to like the other major concern I had about this movie just from the trailers. I was super concerned that this movie would be too busy. I was afraid there was too many plots, too many villains. But the fact that every single major plot element flew through the Iceberg Lounge was genius. Like everything with Penguin obviously owning it, everything with Selena Kyle who works there, everything with all of Riddler's targets were patrons there. Falcone, I'm going to call him Falcone. The movie calls him Falcone. That's dumb. It's Falcone. Basically owns the place. Like the fact that everything can be traced back to that one place, I feel connects everything in a very tight, strong way where it really felt like there was no free time. There was no like there was not like coming out of this movie, there was nothing I felt I could cut. It was all so tight and so just well stitched together that like if you moved even like one character, one little element, I felt it would just all just fall apart. And like Matt Reeves was so smart to balance everything through this one location, one element, and that was very cool.
Yeah, it was very well done. It was good for story. Yeah, because again, this movie easily could have had too many characters. Because I mean, when you think about it, there are a lot of villains in this movie. We haven't even talked about the main villain yet. But there's Penguin, there's the Balcony, there's what I mean. I mean, even to an extent, kind of the police in a way, towards that man. So like, there's a lot going on here. There's intimate, action scenes dedicated to all of these villains. Some of them more than one, and they're not even the main villains. And yet, at no point did I feel like, man, this movie's doing too much. I was like, no, that makes sense. It was kind of a logical progression of kind of going to see, because the main villain is coordinating which villains we go to next, leading back to him, which makes so much sense from a narrative.
Yes. And it would be so easy to like, have four major like, going like, let me back up. It would be so easy for a movie like this to have all of these significant characters and one, maybe even two of them like not being as strong as the others. Maybe like you can clearly tell they were added later in development, or like they just weren't given as much direction because there's other more important stuff going on. No, Colin Farrell killed it as Penguin. Oh my goodness, that was perfect. Like he was literally a cartoon character. It was fantastic. We'll get back to him more later. But John Turturro, like, that's Falcone. Like mannerism, just what he did, just like how he was again just in control of every scenario he was in, was just perfect. Yeah.
We're confident Italian mobster. Boom. Like, got it.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I really can't think of any one individual scene that like I was afraid that the movie being 7 minutes shorter than Avengers Endgame. I was afraid that was going to be a problem, but it didn't feel like 3 hours. It didn't feel like there was anything. Let me rephrase that. It didn't feel like two and a half hours. And then the last 20 minutes kind of like, I kind of felt that, but like that might just be,
well, it's like by the very end you were starting to feel it, but it's like, what I mean? If you just now are like feeling the warning signs, the movie's wrapping up, it's like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like some of it could have been cut for sure, but also nothing felt like, oh my gosh, we're still here. You know what I mean? Like it felt very, because again, the story keeps moving. Like there's not a lot of just sitting there seemingly. It's a lot of progression.
There are kind of two things I could either see maybe cutting or maybe shortening a little bit. I felt like Batman and Gordon like focused on and took a comically large amount of time focusing on the Rata El Lata or whatever it was, like part of that riddle. Like they kept coming back to the rat with wings like 4 times. Like maybe could have cut one of those the times they bring it up maybe. And also tying to that, I feel like the car chase scene maybe didn't need to be as long as it was. It was one of the best car chase scenes I've ever seen. It was shot very well. The music score in general was fantastic. But I feel like in a way, I feel like that scene would have been kind of better. It might make more sense in a second. Might be better if the car chase itself didn't actually happen. Like imagine how cool it would have been if like Penguin's like where'd Batman go? He hears the engine revving up, like just the loudest thing he's ever heard, and like the lights come on, like it's like the Batmobile is there about to chase him down. And Penguin's just like, oh, cut to, he's already detained, like essentially like right after, like like there's nothing you can do. You got like because the way it is right now, because there's all this buildup with the Batmobile, you hear it first, then you see it, like it just makes this car feel so cool, and it then makes the car chase feel a little lacking because like you're expecting it to be, oh, he's gonna get him easily, and it's like 5 minutes go by and like, oh, he finally gets him. Like I feel it should have been a little more effortless.
I agree. I think the actual chase took a lot longer. Maybe if he had like, gone a little bit and then like that's okay. You know that scene where, at the beginning where like Batman takes the scenic route and he's like, I lost him. And Batman's like right behind him when he breaks back onto the freeway. I feel like if right there he would have knocked his car off and then he has the whole, whoa, snap, and he walks toward, like that probably would have been pretty good. But also
then you wouldn't have the him being on fire thing.
Yeah, that's I don't. They could have made it work, but at the same time, it was cool when like Batman just ran through that like sentence. It's like, oh, bro, like that was pretty epic.
But again, it was inherently goofy that as those two trucks were crashing into each other, they just so happened to form a ramp for Batman.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that. It's like that scene in The Dark Knight Rises where Batman perfectly shoots a ramp as something comes up and it exactly gets high enough so he can get away from the police. I'm just like, what? I'm like, what kind of like that's some like Fortnite build kind of like I don't even cool math. But
so yeah, like really that's like the only scene I can think of to either cut down or even like maybe remove. But even then, it's still a 2 hour and 40+ minute movie. But I can't think of anything else I would want to get rid of.
No, like it's still really long. I will say, okay, so this is a kind of a nitpick for me, but just kind of because of like I felt like in this movie, Alfred kind of was a plot device. Like Alfred did not seem to actually add to the story as a character, more so as an idea of, oh no, I'm in trouble, kind of. And I don't mean that in like a way of like, oh, Andy Serkis wasn't good. I think he was fine. I just don't. Usually Alfred's more involved. He kind of just felt like he was just kind of there when he needed to be in trouble or something, or to conveniently figure out this puzzle and then not help anything else. And it was kind of
so
like.
I think a part of that, I don't necessarily disagree because I do kind of feel like Andy Serkis's Alfred was one of the other like kind of major concerns I had, and like not that he didn't sell me on it, but like he wasn't like a bad part, but he wasn't in the movie enough for me to really make a big judgment on. But I think it's part of Batman's arc in that movie to, he's focusing so much on him being vengeance, him being the sole justice in Gotham. He kind of like forgets why he's doing any of this. He forgets, he forgets that he's doing this for his parents, basically, to the point where he's just like, outside of helping me be Batman, I don't care about Alfred. I don't care that you helped raise me. I don't care that you've been with his family for generations, basically. So like, him several times being like, you're not my father, you're not even a Wayne, like, you're just here to help me be Batman. Then by the end of the movie, fully coming around to realizing like, I made a mistake. I need to not only care about you, but care about just the people of Gotham more than I do. I think it's a very, very nice, arc that he goes on. Yeah.
Okay.
Alfred could have been a little more involved in that process, probably, but like I think it did get there where it closed the book on that kind of. Let me rephrase that. Alfred should have been a bigger like direct. I don't necessarily need him to like do a Michael Caine monologue because those got kind of boring by the third movie, but like maybe like drill on that just a little more than they did. But I think it overall was good enough.
Okay. That was my one thing. So I was kind of like, I guess maybe because it is a Michael Caine, but also from like animation and stuff. Like Alfred usually has, he kind of is Batman's emotional anchor and keeps him kind of clinging to the real world, so to speak. So I kind of feel like, and granted, he did do that, but it was kind of more by him almost dying than him actually doing anything, which is kind of where I get the whole plot device vibe. But
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but again, not by any means does that diminish the movie.
Yeah, and he was just there, like, to not die, but then tell Batman that Falcone probably killed his dad.
Yeah, which he never felt like explaining earlier.
Yeah,
but
I don't know why.
Right? What's the butler's name from Spider-Man 3? Oh gosh,
Happy?
No. Like
sorry.
the original Spider-Man 3. Sorry.
That guy.
Yeah, how he
why
just
did you
kind of.
wait? Why did you wait so long to tell?
Yeah, he like conveniently waits till after Harry tries to kill Spider-Man. Like, oh, by the way, your dad killed himself, and everything Spider-Man said was true. But I just kind of let you do this for who knows how long, because why not? Like
after he's been blown up by his own bumper.
Yeah, like half his face is like disfigured and all. Like, bro, like you couldn't have brought this up maybe like a movie and a half ago. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, at least he didn't wait that long.
He pretty much told him the day before he died. So,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
better late than never, I guess. But anyway,
but
yeah,
I feel like the fact that Batman does now know that Falcone probably killed his dad, or got his parents killed, makes the fact that he tried to stop Selena killing him that much more powerful. Like, this man was definitely responsible for me being Batman, but I still won't let you kill him. Like, that's central core to the Batman mythos. Even the worst people, I don't want them to die. You don't get to kill them. Like, I think that's very good.
That was very powerful. And I feel like that could have even been maybe, resonate even a little more in the moment, but it still was felt definitely. But that was big. But he still got what was coming to him. But
yeah. So yeah, I guess like the last major outside of Catwoman. Yeah, we'll do Catwoman first. Zoe Kravitz was good, really good as Catwoman. Like, I never had any doubts. The only thing I have to note about Catwoman is that I feel like her outfit was a little lacking. I don't love that her mask is just a sock. Like, the ears are just an accident. Like,
I felt bad because like I immediately, that SpongeBob episode where Mrs. Puff takes his like.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop it, like, because it really was, and it didn't even like cover her whole face. It was just kind of like, I was like, you steal all this thousands of dollars of jewelry and money and all this stuff, and you can't buy yourself like a half decent mask. Like, it looks like, come on, that's like a toboggan with whole eye holes cut out. Like, come on, like you can do better than that.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a cat, but it also just looked like a boxy sock. Like,
it looked more like that than anything else. Just, I mean, and again, I get that it's kind of hard to make like a cat costume look both practical, somewhat realistic, and cool, but at the same time, it's like I'd rather her not wear anything if she was gonna wear that personally.
Maybe.
I mean, around her face. I mean, like,
yeah, but like, I get that she doesn't have the resources Batman has, but like, they made Batman's outfit look very good.
They did.
So, like, couldn't she, just make a plastic mask or something?
That's what, like, not that I'm saying, not that like this movie has any conversation in it, but it's like even the Catwoman mask, the Holly Berry Catwoman mask, looked somewhat better, kind of. So I'm like, just kind of,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just a little, more than,
or even just like you can still have it that shape, but have it made with the same material that her like the rest of her outfit is.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, like leather or whatever.
Leather thing. I guess I thought it would look too much like Batman, I guess, but I'm like, wouldn't that kind of apply to the whole costume?
Yeah, I don't know. But that's really my only complaint about her.
And she only used the whip like once, right? Like I think like the only time I remember her using it was like with Falcone a little bit, but like other than that, I don't really remember her using it.
She used it to take down the penguin goons before the car chase.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Okay, maybe I just didn't think about it. She didn't have that many action scenes, so maybe it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But
I mean, she used her claws quite a bit. So
this is true. This is true.
That's good. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Again, it would have been so easy to have Catwoman feel out of place or unnecessary in this movie, but it meshed very well with everything else that was going on.
Well, it worked because again, she kind of, in a way, kind of represented both Gotham and the villains, and kind of Batman too, because she kind of had kind of a little bit of and all of that, because she's kind of been on the street, so the city basically raised her, but also lost her parents. Well, lost a parent. The other one, spoilers, doesn't want anything to do with her. But so kind of like Batman in that orphan way. And then, also kind of the criminal, because she works with, you guessed it, criminal. So like,
well,
and
actually,
she
by the
is
end of
also
the movie, she is a full-on orphan because her dad also dies. But yeah.
True. So yeah, so she kind of has stake in kind of all these things. So it kind of works. She kind of helps move the story along in that way. It's very connected in a non-conventional way, so it works.
Oh yeah. Anything else before we? Okay, yeah. Let's move on to the Riddler. Again, I don't know why I bothered having any reservations about anything about this movie. Like I was scared I wasn't gonna love the fact that they were going more Zodiac killer vibe with Riddler. I was afraid, I love the Riddler just as a character. I love just his zaniness and his the performativeness of being the Riddler, but him releasing those videos to the public, him, like by the end of it, like I definitely got those vibes a lot more. Definitely in a darker, in a very darker and just very different way than I was expecting, but I think that was the Riddler. Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of it was dark to start off, but it kind of felt like it was getting darker as it was going. Because the further into this, you're like, wait a minute, this guy, and by the end, once you realize what he's really first of all, not to jump ahead, but when the final plan got revealed, I was like, oh, he got him. I was like, he won. Because I'm like, there's not it was too late. You couldn't do anything about it. Because again, anytime a villain voluntarily gets captured, it's a trap. We all do this.
Yes.
However, the level of trappage it was S tier. That was crazy. Of course, he wants to go to Arkham because that's the only place that's not about to be flooded on the eastern seaboard. That's conveniently has its own island already away from here while everyone else dies, and he can just watch it from the ceiling. And I'm just kind of like, oh dang. But you know what I mean? But again, leading up to this, I was worried because again, I've always seen Riddler as the challenge for Batman's detective side, which is really cool because a lot of times we don't see the detective side as much as other sides. But this time, and again, it didn't feel as Riddly in certain areas because it was like you said, it was Zodiac killer more, but it was kind of more like murder mystery than riddle me this, if you will, which is good. It was still different. Honestly, it's probably more compelling that way because it almost kind of felt like the Long Halloween kind of, because it kind of was like, all right, these murders are happening. There's who's the next victim? How are they connected? Who's behind? You know what I mean? It really, because especially when especially when it started on Halloween, I was like, wait a minute, they're not doing what I think they're gonna do. And it was like, no, it's the next day. I was like, okay, never mind.
This movie is it's a perfect blend between stuff like Batman Year One, Long Halloween. It does take place on, or a lot of it does take place on Halloween. It does It is very early in his career, so he's not like the greatest detective yet. Like he's still smart, but like in the like he really, yeah, like you said, he gets all the clues along the way, at least eventually, but he doesn't actually like win in the
Mm.
end.
No, I mean, like again, because it was like, I mean, Riddler was kind of like, to be honest, Riddler was kind of helping him out. Like, if you
Yeah.
realize, so the end, because he's kind of, leaving more clues. He's like, hi, he gave specifically Batman all these clues and
Hmm.
all of these things. And I thought it was really interesting because, again, they weren't like, they were riddles per se, but it wasn't like the typical Riddler riddles like you see in like the animated series or something like that. It's like these were more like, well, first of all, the I didn't love the like puzzles they had that were just because they didn't really show enough in depth how they solved them. They just kind of said, "Oh,
Mm.
I figured it out."
It's a cipher. Like once you figure out the cipher, you figure out the riddle. Like yeah, that's which again that is very Zodiac killery, but like I do yeah, I do like it when the Riddler is like, here's just here's a bunch of brain teasers, go. But like have to go through the cipher and then like that was a little convoluted. Like essentially I like it when the audience is able to follow along with Batman
Yes,
while he's solving it. If you don't have access to the cipher, so you don't even have a chance to figure it out.
right, and that's kind of how I felt a little because I was really looking forward to like, can I figure it out like Batman? Am I gonna, what I mean? If I
Hmm.
was Batman, would the city burn or not, kind of thing, like, you know what I mean? And I really, because I
Yeah.
got the first riddle, I felt really smart. So I was like,
Eli still, yeah,
I
that's
still,
a
I was like, oh, I was like, and then my friend was like, shut up, you're not smart, and I was like, leave me alone. I was so cool, bro. I thought it was so cool. But then, yeah, like not being able to like follow along, I guess, in the riddle following was kind of, I guess, a little disappointing just because that's whenever I have a Riddler episode or something, that's what I always like to do because I always like the
mhm.
smart ones. But regardless of that, he more than made up for it by being, like not just really scary, but also like a smart villain, like knowing who to
Mhm.
go after, how to go after them, how to, cover his track. Because I was really surprised. I'm like, how has no one caught this guy? You know what I mean? It's not, I mean,
Yeah.
it's one guy. He's he's doing things. I mean, granted, like late at night, but it's like most of it's in public or it's barely known people who should have some security or something. Like, how is he
Mhm.
getting away with it? But he is,
So
and
here's the thing. If I were to put money on it, I would bet it's not actually just Edward doing it the entire time. I think like, the opening scene is the Riddler. Well, first of all, that opening scene, oh, this movie is just so good about playing to expectations. This because the opening scene was someone looking, at like a big mansion. You see a boy playing with a samurai sword. You see two loving parents come in, they hug. Like you were thinking, oh, that's young Bruce Wayne. Something bad's gonna
mm,
happen. And then, again, this movie is so good about doing both, is showing and telling. Like not necessarily like, because there's a whole adage of like, show don't tell is like the most valuable film language. Shut up. But like, I think people like value that a little too much when like both can work, because like you're still in the mindset this is young Bruce Wayne, that's Thomas and Martha, but then the dad goes down to watch the TV and like he's watching the debate, and and during the debate not only is it showing, oh, that guy on screen is this guy, but also they say, the late great Thomas Wayne did this. Like, oh, like you're kind of piecing it together. This isn't actually him. Riddler isn't about to kill Thomas Wayne now. That would have been a little weird. But getting to Riddler, I I feel like it's possible that like the guy that kills the mayor isn't actually the same guy who like is the Riddler. It's possible because at the end of the movie there's 50 people who are dressed like
you
Riddler. Could be
you've got a
anybody.
point, and that's a point I didn't really think about because again, I think they don't really do all they do is they knock, they kill the guy, wrap their head in like duct tape or whatever, and leave a note.
Yes.
And again, and I think the note part's important because again, it's like could have just been what Riddler told, and again, having that following and I feel like maybe if they, like again, it isn't confirmed, but I think that's a good theory that he's kind of got these, I guess acolytes, for lack of a better term, that kind of work with him along with the ones at the end. But
yep, yeah, and this movie, just like you mentioned with parallels between Catwoman and Batman, this movie did such a good job drawing stark parallels between Riddler and Batman. Because like I said, the movie opened with Riddler creepily looking through the window at the big mansion.
Right.
Later in
Which
the movie,
Batman later does with Catwoman, like 2 scenes later, like exactly almost.
Exactly. When you first see the Riddler, he's just like there, hiding in the shadows, ready to strike. And the first time you really see Batman, he's walking out of the shadows, ready to strike. It turns out, he's an orphan. Batman was an orphan. Like, because of that, Riddler himself even sees these parallels, and it's like, I was directly influenced by you to become a vigilante. Like, this is what you basically told me to do. Like, not indirectly, but like I'm just following what you told me to do, and like, we're partners. Like, we're doing this together. And then, like, I just felt like that was so cool. But also I loved how what was I gonna say? I loved so much how you did find out at the end that this guy was one of the kids in the orphanage who Batman kind of indirectly failed by not keeping up with the renewal fund. But in the process of him doing this, he killed a man who had a son, and like that son is like kind of like sprinkled in throughout the movie as like a reminder of, not only is he like have an allegory to Batman's past, he's an allegory to Riddler's past, that Riddler doesn't see that him killing is directly impacting people in the same way that he was impacted. I feel that's just very cool.
Right. It's kind of like, they kind of face the same darknesses but get different results based on how they deal with their traumas. Because Batman overcorrects one way and Riddler overcorrects the other way, so it's kind of the opposite. And they meet on the other side, and it's like, how do you not see what I'm doing? How do you not see, you know what I mean? They're both kind of like But it is really cool because again, it goes back to just how much it can shape you. But the difference is, Batman, Bruce had Alfred, he had, the Wayne Foundation, Riddler had, who knows what caretakers probably got beat up or bullied, abused, whatever, you know what I mean? So like, he gets shaped with the same, strength of it, how he could be impacted, but just in the negative way, and becomes this dark thing. And it just kind of, man, it's wild, but really good. Again, the parallel.
Yeah. And I loved the scene where the lady running for mayor like goes to Batman, is like, or Bruce goes to him and is like, your family used to do a lot for this city, but kind of seems like you're not doing anything right now. Like, maybe once I become mayor, maybe, I can help you with that. But something very interesting about that is the fact that like his dad's philanthropy is directly what caused the movie, which is super interesting.
Like indirectly, these good deeds have caused so much problems. You know what I mean? Because again, led to, the whole Batman thing, led to Riddler's thing, led to, crime bosses being in power. Like, everything. Like, it's kind of, but it makes sense because it makes this ripple effect, and a ripple effect never affects just one person.
Mhm.
It's just we've only ever seen it from Batman's perspective because it's Batman. But it's like, no, this had big repercussions for everyone.
Mhm. Yeah. It just like I'm just gonna say it again. Like the cinematography of this movie puts almost every comic book movie period to shame. Like very, very little CG throughout it. Like it seems to pretty much all be done practically. Just
Mhm.
like the lighting, just the way things are in or out of focus, just like there are a couple of scenes here and there where like it was so dark I couldn't quite tell what was going on, but generally like everything just looked very good. The fight choreography was spot on. Um, just yeah, it was great.
Great. Yeah. It's like even the little things, like things I was like, yeah, I would love that. Like, for example, like the whole like recording context thing. I
Mhm.
really like that because I've
Yes.
always said Batman should have everything he sees recorded so he can, go back. Wait, I've seen this guy before. Looks on his computer at, this hour, this time, and can connect dots easier. Doing it. Like, I've
Mhm.
always thought that'd be a great thing for Batman to happen. Like, oh, yeah, they got that. Boom. And like also Batman's studying. Like he's watching film of him being Batman. And I'm like, dude, that's like so
Mhm.
because like anyone who kind of like does a job like that, and it got, they like athletes or like law enforcement and military, anything like that, they go through things to make sure that they're sharp for the next time. It's like that makes you can't just like, all right, sun comes up, let me just go do Bruce Wayne stuff. It's like, no, he's always Batman. He's just not always in costume. And I thought
Mhm.
that was really cool to see that.
Yeah. And one really cool like through line for the movie is after the first major scene where he is studying, like the next day he comes into the main dining area and like he like looks up at the skylight and like winces and puts on shades because he's a nocturnal animal. And then by the end of the movie, after he's you know gone through this trial and actually learned this lesson about human life and everything, like he's now like one of the last shots of the movie is him looking up at the sky, watching the sun, not blinking, not like Wednesday. It's like it's a new day. I'm a new person. Like you know, like that was just that's so good.
It's pretty
Yeah, yeah.
good.
And like when I tell you that I was floored by the scene that took place in Arkham. Oh, like remember when we discussed our like if we were to make a Batman media like
Mhm.
you know literally basically word for word
Yeah.
like scene like minute by minute the ending of my Batman movie happened in this movie. The Riddler is in a cage freaking out because Batman getting all the glory and he's trapped, and Joker is just the next cell. The Joker is in this movie. Sure, why not? But like only at the very end, they didn't. He wasn't you know like Batman didn't interact with him. He's just there. We didn't forget about him. He's here. Next cell over, and they just like have a little bit of a banter. They laugh maniacally. Like you're good. Like it was so good.
I wonder if they'll make another one.
Like I think the guy that got to play Joker, who played Druig from the Eternals, the mind control guy,
Mhm.
which like I haven't seen him in the full costume, but like I've seen an image of that actor like having like a very sinister grin, and like that looks like Joker. Just paint his face white, that's Joker. And just like his voice, I felt like has this like creepiness, but also just like he it was creepy, but like it was like restrained in a way that was almost scarier than being full on crazy. Like I
It's like
think that
he has a fuller crazy mode, but he's not using it, and it makes you even more freaked out.
yeah, like in a way I kind of almost don't want Joker to like be a major villain of any other movies because we've done Joker before, but like
Mhm.
this guy being Joker, I think, could be something very special for this Batman.
I'll have to see. But yeah, I too kind of feel a little Joker fatigued. I'm kind of like, I know it's right there and it is, but I'm also like, maybe save it, maybe make it a third movie thing, just because.
Yes. Don't do the second movie, because then you'll get direct comparisons to the Dark Knight. You don't want that. But yeah,
No.
having it be the end of a trilogy could be something cool.
Yeah, and I think that would be. I think, yeah, because again, like you still have options here. I mean, there's a lot of things you can go. It's basically wide open. So
yes,
you have options. But yeah, this just so much about this movie was just on point. Or like, yeah, I would want that. Boom. Oh, this would be cool. Boom. Like so a lot of things happening that I'm like, this is some good Batman storytelling. And I like it because again, it kind of, it's out of nowhere. Batman's already established. There's no, Thomas and Martha Wayne, so we know how it goes. You don't have to do the whole thing again. Batman's a couple years in, so the idea is already set up. I will say, him and Commissioner Gordon's relationship was a little weird just because it felt too chummy, if that makes sense.
I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, but I feel like it's kind of a thing where like even Gordon kind of feels out of place in his own police unit. Batman is just starting out, and like him having a friend in the GCPD, which he doesn't even trust yet. Like I get that them bonding in this way is like, especially since we do know that the GCPD is as corrupt as it is. I think
yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, it was a little, especially for early Batman, it felt a little like, I was like, wow, do you guys like go bowling on Tuesdays too? Like, it kind of felt a little like, wow, they're like besties, like they were, the good cop, bad cop, like everything. They're kind of like, and again, it's fine, but it just felt a little early. But again, I thought Commissioner Gordon was good in this movie. I thought it was funny, and just kind of, he was a good like foil for the rest of GCPD because they were all like, one way or another. Some will go crooked, some not. And Gordon's just, Commissioner Gordon.
Not commissioner yet, but yeah.
Well, what is it, lieutenant right now?
Lieutenant, yeah. Yeah. And probably like by the beginning of the next movie, he'll just be
right. Well, didn't the commissioner die?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because it was like the commissioner, the DA, which there's another district attorney who's pretty. I hear is pretty good.
Oh, I hate so much that the pieces line up so perfectly. For the beginning of the next movie, Gordon is now commissioner.
Yep.
Harvey Dent is the new DA, and the Joker is here. Like it sucks, but like that's such a good. That's like, I don't know that was intentional, but like that's such a logical next step for this franchise.
It is. we all know this has to go one way, and but at the same time, does it though?
I mean, there obviously is I guarantee Matt Reeves could tell with the literally the exact same named characters from Dark Knight, he could tell a completely different, maybe even equally as good story as the Dark Knight, especially for how good this movie is. Like, I have no doubt that he could do it. But I just don't know if it's the right choice. But if he wanted to do it, do it.
He could, but I go back to, like you said, it's like, why directly put yourself on that? You know what I mean? You could go you could always save that. You could have I've always gone back to, I want enough time. The only thing I don't like about the Dark Knight is like there's not enough time to appreciate Harvey before Harvey goes bad. So I'm like, give us a movie where they're all three together, working together, and it works out. And then once we appreciate Harvey, then we lose him. It's not like this, it's not this whole like, oh wow, Anakin and Obi-Wan are great friends. Too bad they're about to kill each other in 20 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, give us time to appreciate that positive relationship before we turn it.
Yep. Like, I could very easily see a movie starring the Joker, like being the main villain, and Harvey Dent being the DA, and then how I personally feel the Dark Knight should have ended with and I know this messes up the plot of Dark Knight Rises, but that's the bad movie, so change the trajectory. That's fine. You know, have Harvey Dent, you know, basically becoming Two-Face being the very end of that movie, setting him up for later. I think you can still do that story with having Harvey Dent being actually Harvey Dent for more of the movie, and then actually setting him up for later, as opposed to just having him be Two-Face for 30 minutes and then dying. Weird choice.
Imagine that though. Like imagine the movie, you know, imagine we go through this whole thing, the last minute, you know, he gets acid in her face or whatever happens to Bang on the Two-Face, and then you see him, and the last scene in the movie is him turning, and it's the other half of his face is like disgusting, and like that just cuts to black. Like imagine that, dude. That would be so sick.
Yeah,
that happens in the next movie, I'm showing.
Matt Reeves has also tossed around about him wanting to do Mr. Freeze in the sequel.
Ooh, well, he fixed Riddler.
Yeah,
anything's possible.
Like,
Poison Ivy's up for renewal, I'm sure.
I mean, again, there's this weird. There's been this weird idea since Batman Returns that there needs to be at least two villains working together in any given Batman movie. And this movie proves that like it doesn't have to be as disjointed as just like throwing Riddler and Two-Face together, or just throwing, yeah, why not have Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze? Like, sure, why not just do that? Even though their powers and ideals make no sense together. But like, I have no doubt that Matt Reeves could seamlessly blend literally any two DC, even if it was Mr. Freeze and Killer Croc. That would be a good combo somehow.
Well, okay. Well, actually. No, you lost me. No, I was thinking, maybe it's all water and ice. I'm like, no, that doesn't work.
I mean, the fact that I guess since not Kurt Connors, that's Lizard, who's a very different character from Killer Croc, who was a different scientist who actually turned himself into a giant lizard.
Details.
Yeah. So I guess because the lizard, or not, but because Croc used to be a scientist, right? I'm not making that up, am I?
I actually don't know about that. I know Langstrom was a scientist, turns out to a bat. I don't know if Killer Croc is. I don't know. I don't think so, but let me find out.
Because I might just be completely fusing the Killer Croc with the lizard, but
okay, so yeah, Waylon Jones. There's versions where he drunk an elixir and became Killer Croc. There is I don't know. This is interesting. I'll look into it. I know it's like sometimes it's a mutation, sometimes it's something else. There's a lot of different.
Originally, he was a wrestler.
Okay. There's one where he's just deformed. Like there's a lot of different origins, but every time he's very big, very scary, and has lots of teeth.
Yeah.
And then,
I have no doubt that I have absolutely no doubt that Matt Reeves could do a very compelling story with Mr. Freeze and the Killer Croc.
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. Now that you brought it up, I feel like this Batman would work well with Killer Croc. Like this is a very
yes. I also feel he would work very well with Clayface.
Yeah.
I feel like that just
because it
kind of to me.
Did the movie kind of have like a Rust kind of feel to it? Like not in like a bad way, but kind of just like the shots, everything kind of felt rusty, almost kind of like Doom, but in a different way, kind of.
No, I get exactly what you mean. And originally that like feeling is what was kind of off-putting about the original trailers. I didn't think it was like the trailers made it look almost steampunky, which I felt wasn't the right vibe for Gotham. But like the fact that it was always raining, just the way the rain interacted with the with like the light fixtures around, the way that affected the lighting in general. Yeah, again, the cinematography was amazing. It made it like I said before, it made Gotham just feel like its own entity, like its own character, almost like it, yeah, like it did feel almost rusty, but still clearly set in, you know, like it essentially it made it feel like it could be set literally at any point in time outside of like a USB drive existing. Like it could be set like in the 80s or now or in the future. Like yeah, it was good.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it worked. It worked on just about every level. It was smart. It was very well written. I did like the themes, how they worked out. The choreography was good. All the fight scenes felt like you felt them.
Mm-hmm.
I will say
Hmm.
there was a bit of like this was interesting because it's kind of usually when there's a Batman, there's three parts of Batman.
Hmm.
There's detective, there's there's detective, smarts, all that stuff. There's stealth, and then there's the fighter. And I
Hmm.
feel like this one kind of was mostly the fighter, a little detective, not so like it was stealthy in terms of like the first scene is coming out of the shadows, but like a lot of times Batman's just kind of like walking up to people like, what's going on? Like he didn't really try to use
Yeah.
his advantages, which is not a knock. It's the different kind of Batman. Because
Hmm.
some Batman just I was here the whole time, you just didn't know. You know what I mean? Because I don't even think he did the
Yeah.
like. Did he do the whole like turn around and he's gone thing? I think he only did it
Twice. There was two different
twice.
times when it happened. Yeah, I
Was
can't
it
remember
both to
exactly.
Gordon?
There was once after the scene in the orphanage, like he watched the projector thing. Gordon read Sins of the Father. Like, does that mean anything to you? Turn around, Batman's
Yeah.
gone. He's driving home. There's one other time it
Right.
happened too, but I think it was just those two times. There was one
Yeah.
time towards the end when actually the third time Bruce went to the Iceberg Lounge when like the guard guy like walked out, like who's
He
there, and then
walked
like
in
you
there.
just see him like like go in, and then he's like then he has the whole hallway scene, but like he at least does sneak in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess I don't know. That's not over. That's a nitpick. Well, that's just kind of like this Batman leans kind of to different aspects because yeah, there was not a lot of gadgets really in this one. This was kind of just.
yeah.
I mean, it seemed like he only had the one batarang, which was the chest plate, which was interesting. But
Hmm.
yeah, it didn't seem like he really used. I mean, only I saw the grappling gun and like I don't even know if
The
I saw
shot
another.
gloves.
Yeah, were there really any other
Yeah, he had
tools
the bat
really?
symbol batarang, which was very cool. I never actually threw it, which is whatever. Yeah, the grapple gun. There was this one
I
thing
guess the
he almost
flight
like
suit.
shot at Penguin, like he had like something coming out of his hand, and it went back in when he was talking to Penguin. I don't remember what
Something
that
like
was.
yeah.
Um,
And the flight suit was a nice touch. I like how it was an actual flight suit too. It wasn't like the Dark Knight where the cape turns into. Although that's cool. Like I
yeah,
like how it
not
was
as
its own
practical.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he never had any like smoke bombs or like.
No smoke bombs. No like for me, like yeah, no batarangs really. Like that kind of threw me off. So I was like, okay, but it's also weird because like, usually when someone pulls a gun on Batman, what does Batman do? Dodge, throw a batarang, and then beat the crap out of him. But this
Yeah,
Batman just kind of ate the bullet and then continued
when
to punch the guy. So it was kind of like,
when you have Beskar armor, like you don't need a
right,
dodge.
right. Who needs a lightsaber when you're covered in Beskar? You know what I mean? You can
Yeah,
just
tank
parry
it.
this. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I guess that's kind of why I started thinking about it. Because like, yeah, I mean, he's basically, although I feel like it's hard to justify being bulletproof when your mouth is still fully exposed. Because I'm kind of
Yeah.
like,
Like
really?
You're just
Like,
walking down a hallway, people laying into you. None of those bullets hit your chin. Like I don't know.
ricochet like clips your lip or anything. Like, because
Mhm.
I mean, these are, you know, I mean, these are like, you know, I mean, like not like the automatic weapons just laying a clip into your, and you're just walking down the hallway like nothing. I'm like, plus they can't even see. So like, you know, I mean, at least one shot of in this area. Come on, with the
Mhm.
recoils and freaking out and everything. But
Yeah.
like again, nitpick. But it's like, wow, that's really bold, man. Like you
Mhm.
are risking it all right there.
It worked out for him.
It did
Whatever.
work out. It did work. But like somebody's got to bring that up. It's like, you ever been
Mhm.
shot in here? Is that not? Like, granted, it's not a lot of space, but like it only takes one, really.
Mhm.
But maybe two if you're Batman. But you know,
Yeah.
but yeah. Other than that, though, I really like the Batman. I think it's definitely its own thing, but I think it did it in a unique. Because again, there's been a lot of Batman, but it
Mhm.
did it in a very unique way that it was definitely its own, but was also really well done. And I really want to see more of. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah. Like essentially, I think the perfect sequel to this movie, because I'm so interested in seeing where this Bruce Wayne goes, where this Batman goes, where this Gotham goes from here. Now that now that Falcone is no longer in charge, like there will be this power vacuum. Like, will
Mm-hmm.
Black Mask get involved? Will the League of Shadows get involved? Like,
Mm-hmm. You
who
know,
knows?
Ozzy's gonna have a hand in something, yeah.
Yeah, like I think the perfect way to like for the next movie to go would be essentially uh have like the first 10-20 minutes like I don't want the Joker to be the main villain, but I kind of want the next movie to like start mid Joker interaction. Like the Joker is already like like doing stuff and Batman shows up and stops him. Like that's like the first 10-20 minutes. Like you don't need to really focus on it, just like you know it's been 2 years. Joker got out of Arkham because of course he did. Batman's dealt with him before. It's still a big deal that he's doing stuff because he's killing people, but like it's this is just like this is every day for Batman now. Joker go back to jail, and then the rest of the movie happens. I just feel like that's a good way to use the character, but also feel realistic to the comics.
And subvert expectations. The
Exactly. Yeah.
trailers would be like, oh, Joker, this. Joker's done after 15 minutes. But
People
it's
might
okay.
be mad, but it's fine. We've seen the Joker 12 times already on film. So like we don't need it to be the full movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, I like, okay. Yeah, I mean, I assume a sequel will soon be greenlit. I don't know if it will be. Now, okay, so questions.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I've thought about. Do you see this Batman potentially working with
No.
an expanded? I'm not saying, right? Like, I'm not saying
No.
the one that's in existence. I'm saying any period.
No.
Like,
So here, I'm going to contradict myself, kind of, but in a way, not really. Essentially, what I want, and it's maybe looking like DC is like kind of go in this direction. I really, really want DC going forward to essentially make DC movies like this one, where they're just like one-off own universe movies, or like they can have references to other stuff in the DC universe, but like they're not gunning towards any kind of expanded or connected universe. Like, but they focus on the character. They focus on the world of Metropolis, of Themyscira, of Detroit or whatever. Uh, Central City? No.
yes.
Where does Green Lantern live?
Coast City.
Coast. Yeah, either Coast or Detroit, whichever they go with.
Yeah.
Like they really zone in on making this world, this Clark Kent, this John Johns or whoever, like really make any DC movie you want, make it like that director's vision. Pick the right people to do it, but don't force the cinematic universe so early as they've been trying to do. Make good standalone comic book accurate and just cool DC movies. I think that's kind of like that might be their best way of really competing in this Marvel saturated space where they are gunning for every single movie. Although they are good, Shang-Chi still kind of fell into the trap a little bit of having to live in this bigger expanded universe. Whereas Batman could just be its own thing, Superman can be its own thing, Flash can be its own thing. Yeah.
Also, yeah, I think it definitely. I think it'll make this movie or series of movies stronger, not trying to connect it to something else that's
Yes.
not needed.
But then if, for example, you get two Batman and you get a Superman, you get, if you still keep Gal Gadot or make a new Wonder Woman, you get, maybe Flash gets rebooted after this next movie or whatever. Like, if you make standalone movie series with these characters and all the actors do want to come for Justice League and like it makes sense and they have a good story to tell with the Justice League, sure, do it. But don't go out of the gate with, okay, we're gonna make Man of Steel, and in 2 years we're gonna have Batman v Superman, and that's gonna spin off directly into Justice League, even though we haven't set up any of the other characters. And then from there, we're gonna build the universe from there. Although Justice League Part 2 and 3 are gonna kind of be their own thing, not just, no. Marvel originally kind of had a plan to make Avengers, but like they started with Iron Man and went from there. That's what you should do. Let it flow naturally. Yeah.
If it happens, it does, but don't try to make connected movies. Try to make good movies and then connect them.
Exactly.
And then you can start connecting movies.
Yeah. But if and like in the meantime, if you want to make weird stuff like Blue Beetle or make that Michael B. Jordan produced Altered Dimension Black Superman character movie, or Booster Gold or whatever else they try to throw at you, like, sure. If I'm not focusing on like this, like they're wasting a movie slot on this, like if they're making if they are making the Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and all these other big name characters, sure, why not just have some like indie director make a Katana movie? That could be fun.
I mean, the Soul Taker sword is interesting. So
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Mm-hmm. Like essentially what I want, I just kind of need DC to slow down a little bit, I think. And like a lot of their movies announced today are either getting delayed or getting restructured, which we'll discuss more probably next week. But like, I think this movie is kind of lighting a fire under DC to like, okay, we've actually made a universally adored movie for once. Not every movie up until now has been universally loved. Even Wonder Woman, which is their best movie up until now, was like, had some things here and there people didn't love. But like, outside of some people thinking it's not funny enough, which, there are some very funny moments, but also who cares? Like, this movie
Really
is
not trying to be funny.
yeah, that's fine. Then it's not a Marvel movie. It's not like the jokes that are there are very organic and actually do work in the moment. But like essentially DC saw this movie, saw the success of it, and yes, they're going to produce the movies that are already at least mostly filmed. But I think after that, they're going to kind of start focusing on these like one-off, or like focusing on like different pockets of DC Universe movies, as opposed to like trying to make it its own, a whole thing. Yeah,
Make it a little more. Just kind of just focus one at a time, doing its own thing, kind of thing. But
yeah, yes, like not that I think every single movie is going to be as good as this, because Matt Reeves isn't going to make all of them, nor do I think he should make all of them. I think obviously Superman and Wonder Woman have very different vibes than Batman.
Yeah,
but like Matt Reeves is one of the best directors working now. You're not going to get other people really at his caliber. But like, I'm sure they could find people who are right for the stories they want to tell.
Right. That's the thing. It's like you don't need Matt Reeves to do every story because Matt Reeves does Batman story. It's like you can find that person who really can get a Superman, can really get a Flash, can really get a Wonder Woman story, and then run with it. And I think that's a better idea.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, this movie proves that like even if some of the elements have been done before, or even if like or even if there's certain casting and certain elements that don't look like they'll work right away, wait until it comes out, make your final decision once it comes out. Like I'm not going to say I'm never going to have reservations about any movie because I'm still terrified that Flash movie is going to come out and be terrible because I have no reason to think otherwise so far. I still think Black Adam is not a mistake, but I think it's going to be a dumb, fun, kind of bad movie, but like maybe that's fine. But I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, right. But like, in the future, I'm not just going to be like, oh, that's the wrong choice for a person to play that character, or oh, this automatically looks bad, unless it actually looks bad. I'll try my best to like kind of be more positive about the DC stuff going forward.
Yeah. And I think this is and especially this kind of being its own thing, it definitely, it's kind of like its own light thing. Because I know there's still, I mean, they're still continuing, Aquaman's getting a sequel, other things are happening, but it's also like DC's not pigeonholing everything to be in the universe. It's kind of like we're just making content, which I respect. So that'll work.
Yeah. Oh, here's a question. Do you think a Robin could work in this universe?
Okay, see, this is interesting because I think it can, but there has to be some roles. It can't be like 10-year-old Robin. It has to be like at least
16.
like, because I mean, people are gonna get wrecked. Like he's got to be. But I do think a Robin could work in this universe, and the reason I think this one could work in a world where like I didn't feel like one would work in like the Dark Knight trilogy is because Bruce Wayne kind of like I don't know why I said like Batman basically feels like he needs to find a way to kind of connect to the people of Gotham without just, and I feel like he could kind of, in a way, not only enrich someone else by being Robin, but also like a Dick Grayson type could also draw people towards believing in Batman as well. Does that kind of make sense? Because again, especially that's his goal, kind of seemingly at the end of this movie and going into a next one. So it kind of makes sense to be kind of like, well, if people can gravitate toward Robin, then maybe that'll bring them closer to me, kind of.
Yeah, I also kind of feel like, especially since a part of this Batman's story arc in this movie was, the beginning of the movie, he was like, I am vengeance, I am the sole justice of this city. People fear me. But by the end, like, I kind of got the sense that like, he has a new lease on life. He feels like Batman could be more than just vengeance. He's now like a symbol of hope. He actually like, even though he lost the battle, he saved pretty much everybody, theoretically. he saved everybody from the flood, and like, people now don't just unilaterally fear him, like they see him as the savior character, which I hope they don't lean into that as much, but like I think there is a trajectory for Robin not feeling out of place for this Batman who no longer is relying solely on fear, as opposed to just, going more so in just, beating up crime where it is, as it comes.
Yeah,
because Robin is not scary.
right. Like, like Batman's here, but like Robin's kind of like, okay, like bro, you're wearing bright red and green. Like, I'm not gonna run from you. Like, I don't care how big your staff is. I'm not afraid of you.
Mhm.
But I think that would be. I do think that could have worked, though. I do think that could work. It'd have to be, you'd have to, give him a better suit. You can't wear the no pants. He has to have a full leather bulletproof suit. But maybe it can be kind of like a dark red and green kind of, or maybe just a
Yeah.
red torso and all black of the rest of it. But
Mhm.
I don't know. We'll
Like
see what they do. Also,
in
he
a
needs something for his head because, like,
in a way, I kind of it like in a way I kind of almost want that kid who had the half Joker face paint to like be important later. Although ironically, that kid plays Tim Drake in the Titans show, so they probably
huh,
wouldn't get him to do anything like that
did not
in
see that.
this universe. But like thematically, I think that could work pretty well. It's like yeah, I was in with the wrong crowd after my parents died, but like you not beating me up made me realize, hey, I don't need to do this anymore. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, because I know he was looking at, I think it was the mayor's kid, and I was like, he's young, but like, maybe if he age him up some, maybe. But I was like, that'd be kind of
I don't
far.
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
that
And
kid
also, I feel
solely
like,
existed to sorry, go.
yeah, be a parallel. No, you're right. I cut you off.
Yeah.
You're right. But, and also, yeah, he's the mayor's son. He's not going to be an orphan. He still has his mom. That doesn't work.
Mm,
But I don't know. Just, it was more of a symbolism, but, you know.
yeah, but I personally do think it if they but at the same time I wouldn't want them to like make a whole movie about the introduction of Robin because I feel similarly like you said before, I feel like they would basically have to do an Obi-Wan Anakin thing where like half like most of this movie is introducing Robin, only the last third is them actually working together. And then in the next movie I feel like you kind of have to go like him getting fired by the end of that movie and becoming Nightwing. Like I feel that's how that story would have to go. So we only have like really totally half a movie with Batman and Robin.
That's the hard part about doing movies with like with Batman and Robins, because it's like, in the real world you had years of comics with Dick Grayson before they're like, all right, let's get a new, you know what I mean? Versus,
Mm-hmm.
an hour of screen time maybe, which is like,
Yeah.
with the show you can do like 2 seasons, and then okay, after we've saved the city 40 times, maybe
Mm-hmm.
now we can think about moving on. But yeah, with movies it's kind of like you have to do a lot of, I guess, telling instead of showing, because it's a lot of it's off screen, which can be bad sometimes because you don't want to just say, "Oh yeah, aren't we the best of buddies?" That time that no one's off. So
Mm-hmm.
like, it would be interesting
Yeah.
to see how they do, but I don't know.
The only remedy to this, I feel, would be to have the movie take place like 3 years after this movie and have Robin just like be introduced between movies.
I
But
mean, you
then
could.
you could,
They didn't really introduce Batman. You know Batman, and most people know Robin. So like,
yeah.
you don't have to like do the whole flying great. I mean, you could maybe do like a quick flashback, but like, you don't have to do the whole "I found you, I adopted you," blah blah blah. Oh my gosh, you're actually Batman. Who could have guessed except everybody? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just be like, hey, this is Robin. He's been doing the thing, and he's been doing this for like a year now. So just, we'll start there.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be better, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. It would still be hard to get that going, but anything's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. But regardless, this movie was fan just fantastic. Like
Indeed.
like and I think one thing I didn't touch on earlier but definitely meant to, I think probably the strongest aspect of this movie is the fact that the thesis of this movie was Batman film noir, which hasn't been done before somehow. Like as far as like live action goes, there hasn't been a full on, classic noir style detective story with Batman, which seems to
Somehow.
fit perfectly together. And Matt Reeves decided, yeah, that's the pitch. And like literally someone today asked me, hey, see the new Batman, like, what's what's different about it? And I said it's a film noir but with Batman. And he's like, oh, cool. I was like, yeah, like something that easy, you get it. Like that's,
and like you
yes,
said,
it
it
is like
should have
kind of an
been.
origin, but it does something different with it. Sorry, go.
Yeah, no. And like you said, it's something that like someone should have thought of like years ago. Like I could have thought of that. Duh, that goes together
Yeah.
easily. Like why is that not? That's obvious. Why didn't you think? But it's also like yeah, but like nobody's done it. So like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like unfortunately, I feel like because this movie did the film noir style so well, and the Riddler fit that so perfectly, I feel there, and you already had, basically, like the like main gangster guy be one of like the main sub villains. I feel there are many different villains and different characters that you can't really do now. Like you can't do Hush because Riddler basically was like basically already kind of did that story.
yeah, which Hush would work well in this universe too.
Yes,
But
but like yeah, Riddler kind of already that story like not it's not the same story, but like a lot of the
it's
elements are
similar.
still there, which is fine. Um, I don't really know if someone like a Black Mask could like would be a good follow up, since I don't know, like I don't know how different that would be from having Penguin and a Falcone. But yeah, someone like a Mr. Freeze or Deathstroke. Every chance I get, I'm gonna want Deathstroke in a band.
I almost feel like this Batman's not ready for Deathstroke though. Like he doesn't feel like if it's Deathstroke to the level he should be, this Batman would get clapped right now.
You're
So
right, but in 2 or 3 years,
maybe, or maybe that's the conflict. It's like you just got to get good. Like you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah. Mm,
but it makes sense. I feel like a Deadshot works really well in this universe, though. I feel like that could be.
but when Batman's bulletproof, like
Well, that's the thing is, I have to go after Batman. He's kind of more going after other people. Like
yeah.
I see what you're getting at, but like
Here's the thing with Deadshot. I, so the reason why the vast majority of Batman villains are so compelling is because like they're a twisted version of one aspect of Batman. Scarecrow was the fear. Joker is like, it's crazy to put on a bat costume. This is a logical, step of that, etc. But but Deadshot is just a guy with a gun. Like there's not a lot you can do with that outside of him just like being an assassin. Like I feel like he's the type of villain to be that first 20-minute just like throwaway villain just to get the movie going,
like
which
an
is
accessory
fine.
villain.
Hmm?
Like an
Yeah,
accessory villain.
yeah, like
Yeah,
someone hired by the main villain to do a thing just to have an action scene. I personally don't really think he could drive his own movie. Yeah,
fair enough. That's really true.
yeah. But someone like Deathstroke who like is a physical match for him, who also trained with the League of Shadows, but instead of putting that skill towards helping people and stopping crime, he's killing a lot of people. For and like yeah. Um, so I think there is more you could do with that as opposed to just Deadshot. But I have no doubt Matt Reeves could make it work either way.
Yeah, I agree. Side note, do you think The Dark Knight Rises would have been way better if they did replace Bane with Deathstroke? I just thought about that.
When we did our roast of that movie, I pitched that. Yeah,
You
it
did? Yeah,
makes
okay. That's
so much more sense. Especially like
yeah.
have Talia and Deathstroke like be be like the main villain. Like yeah, that just
It makes
more
what? Yeah.
sense.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No. I'm just making sure somebody said it because I'm like, now saying that out loud, that sounds so much worse
Mhm.
that they did it with Bane, because Bane makes no sense there. But
No,
whatever.
like yeah,
But
a guy who trained with the League of Shadows to take the place of Ra's al Ghul. Yeah, that's Deathstroke. What are you doing? Like,
he
you
tried.
can even have Tom Hardy play him. I don't care.
I mean,
I'd rather not, but like
I'm like, I don't
have
know if
to.
that would work, but
Whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
keep the mask. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah,
Like
I mean, but yeah, this is. I was telling someone at work asked me how good is it, and I was like, if you like Batman at least a little bit, you will love this. Is what I
yes.
said.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like, I don't know. It's like this is really good. I haven't seen something this good for Batman in a long time. Especially this is the best live action Batman thing I've seen
For me, ever
probably.
personally.
Probably. Like, I don't know. The Dark Knight is extremely good. I know you think it's a little overrated. I think it's one of the best movies ever made. So like I get it. But at the same time, this is also up
Like
there as far as
here's the difference between the Dark Knight and the Batman. Like maybe it is just because like I went into watching the Dark Knight knowing it was this super, beloved, super overhyped movie. So I had all these expectations and walking away with like, it was good. Like maybe that kind of tainted it, but like I walked out of the Batman, like having next to nothing to complain about, next to nothing to even nitpick. Like everything I said about it, like there were maybe three things I even like kind of think were like not even flaws, just things that I not even change, just things that I feel like should be noted. It's like, that one scene maybe could have been cut a little bit. Catwoman's mask should look better. That's about it. um, whereas with the Dark Knight, there are several. I'm not going to get into it right now, but like there are several things about it that I feel I feel could have been done differently to just make it an overall like tighter movie. So maybe it's just recency bias. Maybe after I watch it again, I'll like have more notes. But as far as me personally, I think the Batman is the best Batman movie ever made, as far as live action goes. Personally,
it's definitely up there. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna have
I,
to, I think I'm gonna see it again on Friday. So I'm gonna
I think I'm gonna see it again next week too.
right? Like now knowing what I know about it and like fully expecting it's like, okay, I'm gonna like analyze. I'm gonna go into analyze mode more
Yes,
this time.
and keep in mind this is coming from me, a man who loves critiquing movies. Like there are very few movies I walk out of a theater and like I have no thoughts, or I have no notes. Like Spider-Man No Way Home, I had basically no notes, but I probably was just riding high in nostalgia and fan service. If I watched it again, maybe I'd have other things about it, but like, you know, it was just an overall very good movie, on top of all that. This I felt pretty much the exact same way. like like as a huge Batman fan, it was perfect for me.
Yeah.
I just hope the other two movies in this trilogy, and hopefully beyond, if they're good, can keep it going.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's the thing about knocking out of the park on the first one. They expect you to do it every time now. So it's like, can you rise to the challenge? Like maybe, but so far,
Apparently War for the Planet of the Apes is one of the best movies ever made. Apparently. Like, okay,
according to
Matt Reeves, go
who?
off.
I mean, the newer ones. I mean, granted, I
Yeah,
haven't seen. Okay, I haven't seen those. I'll be honest.
I haven't either, but just people generally were like, oh yeah, Matt Reeves is perfect for the Batman. The Planet of the Apes trilogy, one of the best trilogies ever made. It's like Planet of the Apes.
Really?
Planet of the Apes is one of the best movie trilogies. Like, okay, go.
I don't hear people saying that. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I don't know, but like, maybe I need to see that. I think I'm gonna go watch those.
essentially a thing of like, yes, they're not as popular as other franchises, but the people that have seen them sing their praises as I haven't. Like it's crazy.
Noted. Okay.
And it's on my list of movies to watch eventually.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah. But so again, I have no doubt that Matt Reeves will make every movie good. I am a little, not scared, but nervous that every movie won't be quite as good as this one, especially if they do go a different like style. Like if the future movies aren't film noir, if they focus more on other aspects of Batman's character, it could, have a very different vibe that doesn't jive as well in this universe. But like, I'm sure Matt Reeves could make it work.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, how does he adapt? How can he wear it? And I think he'll do a great job. I mean, so far, flat out awesome, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like I think I've said pretty much everything I need to say about it right now. Yep.
Batman good.
Batman good.
Batman good.
Batman good.
Batman good. Batman good. Oh man. Yeah, yep. That is the appropriate response. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Batman good. Here's one more kind of like thought I had going off of this. After watching the movie, how do you feel about the name of the movie just being The Batman?
Yeah. I like it. I think it's fine because my thing is there's been so many Batman movies made, it's hard to get a title. So like as long as the title's not something really corny or unnecessarily long, I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, now the TV show, if anyone ever searches for it, it's gonna take way longer to find it, but
right.
It'll be okay.
Yeah. Like I don't know what I would subtitle this movie, or if like or if this movie would warrant just like Batman. I don't know if the was necessary, but
well, I don't think they can just call it Batman, can they? Because isn't Batman 89 just Batman?
Yeah, but
are they allowed to just rename it the same name?
I guess yes. I don't. Why not? I guess
I don't know because they do that. I don't know. I guess it's weird because it's like, I guess like I know they can. I guess for me, it's just like if it was me making a movie, I don't want to make a movie. Like, first of all, if you just say your movie's Batman, like you better make the best Batman movie because it's like.
But they did though.
I know. I'm just saying that's very like. And also, what you just call it Batman 2, Batman 3 going forward? Because like there's been other.
There's never been a Batman 2, Batman 3. It was Batman Returns, Batman Forever.
I know, but it's like it sounds so funny saying Batman Forever, like friends forever. That's so funny. And then Batman and Robin, and we all know how that went. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it just. I think the title's fine as long as because like I don't want this to be like Batman, the story of this and that. Like, I feel like a lot of movies you can either do Batman story you're basing it off of, like Long Halloween, Death in the Family, whatever, or a variation of Batman. So like, yeah, the Batman's fine, or like Batman Gotham Knight, or Batman, all these movies, you know what I mean? Like I always liked I had one I used to say that I don't remember, but I had one I used to say I would always say if I ever wrote a Batman movie, it would be like Batman, like I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think would you change the title? Would you?
I think it's fine for this movie, but I'm a little afraid going forward. Like, let's assume Mr. Freeze is the main villain. Will it be like the Batman Sub-Zero or whatever? Like the Batman : something?
Probably. I mean,
yeah. I don't know. I just feel like that's a little bit of a mouthful. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's
It
weird
don't really
because
work out
like
for them. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's interesting because like with normal movies, you have Batman Begins, and you just go to the Dark Knight. Where if it was the Dark Knight Begins, the Dark Knight, and the Dark Knight Rises,
Mhm.
it kind of would have made a little more sense trajectory wise. But
Yeah.
also, I feel like if they just go the Batman and then base it all, you know, like for example, if it was like Scarecrow, they could go like the Batman, Fear Itself, or something. I don't know, like something.
That's not a bad title.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like you don't have to overcomplicate it. Like just
I
make it.
think if the Joker were the main villain, something like the Batman Joker's Wild or something like that.
Joker's Wild, or like just Joker, or no, not just Joker. What
The Batman
about
versus the Joker.
no, no verses, no V's, no verses
No.
for a while. Or I don't need any more of those. But Batman Joker's Wild would be a good one. Or like, yeah, Joker's like any of the like animated series. Oh, Batman: The Last Lap or something. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
hmm
I don't know.
Like I definitely wouldn't want them to like reuse subtitles. Like I wouldn't want them to call it the Batman Heart of Ice or anything like that.
Oh no, Heart of Ice doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You got because I feel like their like themes can be general enough that you can come up with a new one. You don't have to reuse old ones. Like, you know, like granted, I think The Last Lap is reused probably from all those Joker episodes in the animated series, but like,
And there's at least one comic run called that, but like that's fine.
yeah,
Like
yeah, just
whatever.
you know. And then for half of them, you can just remake them comics anyway. So I mean, you can have the Batman, The Long Halloween. It's going to work. I mean, that's probably going to happen. But
yeah,
the Batman, I don't know, like, Poison Ivy, something with thorns would be great. Like, I don't know, but yeah, I think as long as it's not super long or like annoying to say, or like the Batman, the return of part two, something ridiculous long anime name, like it'll be fine.
Like the Batman, the two faces of justice, or whatever.
Well, it should be the Batman, and then like 2 or 3 words. Like you should be able to say it in 2 breaths. Like the Batman, boom. The Batman, this. Like even because I mean, isn't the new
Civil War?
Yeah, like isn't the new Aquaman like the Lost Kingdom or something like that?
Yes,
Yeah,
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Yeah, something you can just throw onto it, like nothing like Aquaman and the redemption of Atlantis after that one thing. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's Shazam, like, Fury of the Gods, which is like 1, maybe too many words,
but like those are small words too. Like all of this doesn't even really count because like you know what I mean? It's like you know, like because like think about it, like when they're gonna like when you refer, like it's like Star Wars. When you talk about Star Wars movies, you refer to them by their like second name. You don't say, well, in Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. You just say, well, an Empire. When Jedi, I say Jedi. I don't care what people like. There's more than one Jedi movie. You know which one I'm talking about.
I think you would say Last Jedi, but like even Last Jedi isn't that long to say.
Yes, I would say Jedi versus Last Jedi.
Which is why I'm not going to go on. I'm not going to, I'm going to continue to this.
Can of worms.
I'm going to continue to this. This is why I personally feel like the Rise of Skywalker is a mouthful and a bad name.
Yeah.
Anyway,
back to Batman before we go on a tangent. But yeah, it's like as long as the name is short enough to be said in the same breath, as well as can be referred to on its own, and you know what I'm talking about. So like, Fury of the Gods, The Lost Kingdom, or or like Indiana Jones, you know what I mean? Like,
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark, or Temple of Doom, or
Kingdom of Crystal Skulls, maybe a little long, but
yeah, but you probably just say Crystal Skull. Yeah, I was you probably like there's something in the title's not super long, and there's something in it you can refer to easily that everyone knows what you're talking about. So yeah, like Joker's Wild would be perfect, or like I don't know, any other name. You know what I mean? Like it'll work. Like the
Yeah.
Demon's Head. Like, dude, you know how good that would be? Oof.
Oh, like not to mention like Court of Owls is 100% happening at some point. Like Paul Dano, you know, the guy that played Riddler, also what's his name? Robert Pattinson, both are like, yeah, Court of Owls needs to happen at some point. Even Matt Reeves, like, yeah, I you know, I've read it.
That would be really good, especially with this Gotham too.
Especially since they already established a power vacuum is going to be
Mm-hmm.
there. Like, you know, they've been hiding in the shadows for generations. Now they just, you know, rise up.
You know,
Could be fun.
Batman's right there for the, oh man, Court of Owls.
Yeah, even the Batman, Batman, the Court of Owls isn't a, you know, too crazy of a
Yeah,
name.
yeah. Court of Owls, that's perfect because you know
Yep.
they haven't. It's not really that you know they're not really that noteworthy as far as like a title, so it doesn't feel reused. And also, you just say, oh yeah, and in Court of Owls, boom, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
Batman, the Court of Owls. Would it be the Batman, the Court, or just Batman, the Court of Owls?
See, that's the thing. Like, do you drop the?
Maybe it's symbolic because he's not the Batman because we're more familiar. He's just Batman. He's one of us.
I
You
don't
know
know.
how movies do though. You know how they do it like that. They try to say this. It's so this deep meaning. Like, bro, it's just so they can make it sound easier to say. Like, it's not that serious.
Just so they don't have to pay for as many characters on the poster.
Right? Like, just for marketing purposes. We're not. It's not that serious. But they'll make you believe it's this like super. Oh yeah, the author's purpose and all this stuff from English. And it's like, no, man, it's not that serious.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I would personally keep the Batman and just every movie just add a little title to it because I feel like, you know, the Batman is kind of this potential trilogy, or however many movies it is. It's its theme. It's the Batman this, the Batman that. So like I would run with it because again, it is one word, a small one, and it's the. So like it's not like a mouthful.
Yeah. I just find it so funny that this movie originated as a Ben Affleck directed, produced, and starred in, you know, Ben Affleck Batman movie versus Deathstroke. Like that was like the original pitch of this movie. And then Ben Affleck was like, maybe I don't want to direct anymore. I still want to be Batman. Matt Reeves came on and was like, yeah, I'll make it. And then Ben Affleck was like, I don't want to be Batman anymore. She's like, okay, I guess I got to pick a new Batman, but still going to call it the Batman. Like that name is the only thing that stayed the same throughout the entire process, and it ended up being the best movie ever made. Like, it's like
well, that's the thing. It's like honestly, I mean, I think that helped a lot because a lot of it's like, you know, this was supposed to be a, you know, kind of like it kind of, I hate to say it, but it kind of felt like an ego project originally when, you know, Ben Affleck's like, I'm gonna do all this. I'm not saying anything about Ben Affleck. I'm just saying like when someone's writing, directing, starring in all the movie, it's like maybe that's not a great idea. Maybe that's too much power. You know, maybe, you know, have a more of a meeting of the minds and just I'm gonna do it all. So, but yeah, this ended up working out. We got to, and again, everyone's like, "Oh, Robert Pattinson, Twilight. Oh my gosh, this isn't gonna work."
It did. It did.
I mean, was he as jacked as other Batman have been? Not really. Did it really matter though? No.
Like,
it
I think
works.
he needs to lose the facial hair next time. I think the 5 o'clock shadow didn't work for Batman personally.
No, but I guess it
that's
was
like
kind of.
That's the only thing about the Batman design that I didn't like love. But yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, it worked out. Like they made it work. They made it. They made, and I really like you said, the cinematography, like the camera angles were amazing. It really felt like you were in the movie for a lot of it. Like, you know, it's like, you know, someone put a GoPro on Batman while he's, you know, fighting crime, basically. So it was really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like it's not every day I'm like willing to watch a 2 hours and 50-minute movie again. Like, yeah, I the movie was good. I want to see more. I hope DC makes more movies like this. Yeah, go watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, please do.
yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about the movie before we wrap up?
Batman good, man.
Batman
Batman's
good. Batman good. Good.
Batman good.
Anyway, guys, see you later.
Take care.